Imagine a system where criminals can become politicians, get away with a lot, and become filthy rich. You're probably thinking it's a movie plot, right? Well, welcome to the reality of the Swedish system. Now you might be wondering, how can this be possible? How can a system, supposedly designed to serve and protect the people, allow such an absurdity? Well, the answer lies in the loopholes and the lack of accountability present within the Swedish system. In Sweden, there are many who have managed to exploit these loopholes to their advantage. They've not only avoided punishment but have also risen in power and wealth. It's not a matter of clever strategy or cunning politics. It's a matter of exploiting a system that is inherently flawed and lacks the necessary checks and balances. And what's more shocking is that there are almost no repercussions for these actions. Once they've climbed the ladder and gained power, they're almost untouchable. It's a vicious cycle that keeps feeding into itself, leading to a lack of accountability that is shocking to say the least. But where does this leave the everyday Swedish citizen? Unfortunately, they are the ones who suffer the most. They are left to deal with the consequences of a system that can be manipulated so easily, a system that does not hold its leaders accountable, a system that allows for such gross misuses of power. This is not just an isolated incident or a one-off case, it's a systemic issue that permeates through the very fabric of Swedish society. And it's high time that we talk about it, understand it, and most importantly, find ways to fix it. So, are you ready to uncover the shocking truth about the Swedish system? Are you prepared to delve into the murky depths of a system that allows criminals to become politicians and amass unthinkable wealth? Intrigued? Let's dive deeper into a case that perfectly illustrates these flaws. Meet Jan Emanuel Jansson, a convict who turned into a politician, taking full advantage of the loopholes in the Swedish system. Let's paint a picture of Jan Emanuel Jansson. Born and raised in Sweden, Jansson didn't follow the conventional path. He found himself on the wrong side of the law early on with a rap sheet that's less than commendable. Despite this, he managed to pivot and find himself a place in politics, a scenario that may seem improbable in many other systems. But how did this happen? How did a man with a criminal history manage to weave himself into the political fabric of Sweden? The answer lies in the very system that was supposed to prevent such occurrences, a system that, instead of acting as a deterrent, was manipulated to serve as a stepping stone for Jansson. You see, the Swedish system, in its quest for redemption and second chances, allowed Jansson to rebrand himself. His criminal past was not a hindrance but rather a badge of resilience and survival. This, coupled with his charisma and knack for public speaking, paved his way into politics. However, this isn't a simple story of redemption and second chances. Jansson's political career was marked by a series of controversies and allegations, further raising questions about the system's effectiveness in vetting its leaders. And yet, despite these controversies, Jansson thrived. He used the system to his advantage, leveraging the flaws and loopholes to not only maintain his position but also to amass wealth. Yes, you heard it right. Jansson, the convict-turned-politician, became stone-rich, all while operating within the confines of the system. This begs the question, is the system really doing its job, or is it simply a playground for those savvy enough to exploit its weaknesses? Unfortunately, the answer seems to lean towards the latter. Jansson's case is a glaring example of how the Swedish system is failing its citizens. Unbelievable, isn't it? But this is just the tip of the iceberg. As Jansson rose in power, the Swedish system's flaws became more apparent. Let's delve into that. In the world of politics, Jan Emanuel Jansson was a rising star. His ascent to power, however, shone a spotlight on the inherent flaws of the Swedish system. Jansson, a man with a criminal past, was able to navigate these waters with ease, not in spite of the system's flaws but because of them. He was a master manipulator, exploiting the system's weaknesses to his advantage. One of the most glaring instances was his ability to manipulate public perception. Jansson was a master at using the media to paint a picture of himself as a reformed man, a successful entrepreneur, a champion of the people. He used his charisma, his rags-to-riches story, and his apparent commitment to public service to win the hearts of Swedish citizens. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. Jansson was also skilled at exploiting the system's loopholes for personal gain. He was able to leverage his political position to boost his business interests, effectively using the Swedish system as a stepping stone to wealth. His rise in power was not a testament to his abilities or his commitment to public service, but a testament to his ability to manipulate and exploit. And what's worse, the Swedish system didn't just fail to prevent this, it practically enabled it. The lack of sufficient checks and balances, the lax regulations, the loopholes in the law, All these factors contributed to Janssen's rise and the system's consequent fall. In essence, the Swedish system provided the perfect breeding ground for individuals like Janssen to thrive. It rewarded manipulation and exploitation while failing to ensure that those in power were held accountable for their actions. The story of Jan Emanuel Janssen is a stark reminder of the urgent need for reform. A system that allows such manipulation and exploitation is not just flawed, it's broken. The Swedish system didn't just fail to prevent this, it practically enabled it. So, the Swedish system is broken. But what does this mean for the citizens and what can they do about it? Let's take a moment to understand the implications. Firstly, a broken system inherently breeds injustice. When individuals like Jan Emanuel Janssen can take advantage of system loopholes to climb the political ladder and amass wealth, it's clear that the scales of fairness are tilted. It's not just about one individual, it's about the potential for countless others to follow the same path, unchecked and unchallenged. Secondly, such a system erodes public trust. Imagine living in a society where those at the helm are not there due to merit or public service, but because they've exploited the system. It's disheartening and downright discouraging. The faith we place in our leaders to make decisions for the collective good is undermined. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to stay this way. Change is possible, and it begins with awareness. Understanding the system's flaws is the first step towards rectifying them. From there, it's about demanding transparency, accountability, and integrity from those in power. It's about electing leaders who are committed to public service, not self-service. Furthermore, it's about reforming the system itself. This isn't a quick fix. It requires a long-term, concerted effort. It might involve re-evaluating current laws, implementing new checks and balances, and ensuring that those who exploit the system face consequences. But most importantly, it requires the participation and vigilance of the public. After all, a system is only as strong as the people who uphold it. So, what can citizens do? Stay informed, question authority, and never stop demanding better. Participate actively in the democratic process, from voting to voicing opinions. And remember, change is a collective effort. A system should serve its people, not the other way around. It's time to take a stand. Change may seem daunting, but it's necessary. It's time to understand, advocate, and remodel the Swedish system. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when we talk about systemic change, but remember, every monumental shift in history started with a single step. And that step is understanding. Understanding the system, its flaws, and the potential solutions. The Swedish system, like any other, is not without its faults, and it's high time we address them. We've seen how individuals like Jan Emanuel Janssen can exploit these cracks, amass wealth, and even rise to positions of power. This isn't just a single person's wrongdoings, but a symptom of a larger issue. So, what can we do? The answer isn't simple, but it starts with education. Equip yourselves with knowledge. Understand how the system works, its loopholes, and its weaknesses. Ignorance isn't bliss in this scenario, it's dangerous. But knowledge alone isn't enough. We need to advocate for change. We need to raise our voices against the flaws in the system, against the individuals who exploit it for personal gain. We need to demand accountability and transparency from our leaders and institutions. Remember, they serve us, not the other way around. And finally, we need to remodel the system. This isn't about tearing everything down and starting from scratch. It's about making strategic changes that close the loopholes, that promote fairness, that prioritize the needs of the many over the desires of the few. It's about creating a system that serves justice, not criminals. We can't do this alone. It's a collective effort. We need to come together, as citizens, as a community, to bring about this change. We need to do the right thing, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Join the movement for change. Advocate for a system that serves justice, not criminals. It's time to remodel, to do the right thing, because good people deserve a good system.